Hello, students. It's nice to see you. Summertime is coming soon and it's getting hotter and hotter. I hope you're all staying safe, drinking lots of water, using your air conditioning, and trying to cool down in this hot weather. I have my air conditioning on right now, so if it gets a little noisy, I apologize. But I'm excited to start today's new YouTube video. Recently, we talked about a wonderful story of a woman who went to Chinatown in Los Angeles, California, and met and married a Chinese businessman. And their success story through a number of generations showed us the incredible spirit of the two people who uh, kind of broke the rules and created a new sort of way of life in mixing cultures and creating a new kind of new cultural generation. And we talked a little bit about Chinatown, where it came from, how it was made. So this week I wanted to talk more about that, and I wrote an essay. It's about San Francisco's Chinatown and the connection with the Transcontinental Railroad, and also just the kind of unique and interesting parts of Chinatown. So let's get started. Okay. The 19th century in the United States was a remarkable era that transformed the nation and its culture. The construction of the Transcontinental Railroad stands as a monumental feat, linking the east and west coasts and creating new paths of connection and prosperity. As a result of the creation of the Transcontinental Railroad, Chinatown in San Francisco was created. Chinatown shows us that the Chinese immigrants stood strong against the challenges of discrimination and prejudice. Let's explore the connection that tie the Transcontinental Railroad and Chinatown together. Let's learn about the two significant facts of American history: the pioneering spirit that made America a global leader, and the multicultural community created by immigrants seeking opportunity in a new land. The construction of the Transcontinental Railroad, spanning from 1863 to 1869, marked an extraordinary chapter in American development. There were several reasons for the development of the railroad. People wanted a better way to travel. Before the railroad, it would take many months for a family to move from New York to San Francisco, using multiple forms of transportation like ship, wagon, horse, and on foot. The railroad also connected different parts of the nation with trade and work. When the railroad was finished, it didn't just change how the country looked, but also how people lived and worked. It brought the United States closer together as one nation. During this same time, in the mid 1860s, in the metropolis of San Francisco, a very interesting cultural event began taking shape: Chinatown. The origins of Chinatown come from Chinese immigrants arriving in search of opportunities for work and wealth. Less than 20 years before the start of the Transcontinental Railroad, gold was discovered in California, which brought many Chinese immigrants into the state to search for fortune. The construction of the railroad provided work for these Chinese immigrants. But as the population of these immigrants increased more and more, Americans started discriminating against them and created many laws to exclude Chinese people of rights and ignore violent attacks done on the Chinese. This discrimination and exclusion laws gave Chinese people living in California no place for their own, so they relied on each other for support. The formation of Chinatown was because Chinese people wanted to form a distinct community where they could seek support, preserve their culture, and build a sense of belonging in a foreign land. The Chinese immigrants worked very hard to construct the Transcontinental Railroad. which was celebrated as one of the greatest accomplishments of the 19th century in America. However, the Chinese immigrants were ignored or forgotten after its completion. They were not paid very much for their hard labor and were ignored or rejected by society. They didn't have enough money to pay for a trip back to China, and there was not much work for them if they did manage to make it back to their home country. So they were stuck in America, in California, with nowhere to go except to build their own community and support each other. Chinatown is the result of this experience for them. But from this disappointing aspect of American history comes a very interesting and unique town that the Chinese people made for themselves. Chinatown has several distinct aspects that make it a very interesting and vibrant place. The architecture and layout of the town was designed by Chinese builders and made the buildings look like traditional Chinese buildings with colorful red roofs and intricate details. There are also various culture institutions which preserve the culture and celebrate the Chinese immigrants' history in America. There's a Chinese Historical Society of America, a Chinese culture center, and some museums and art galleries which show their experiences in America. Chinatown is also home to many festivals and parades. The Chinese New Year parade is held annually and attracts thousands of spectators. They have elaborate floats, lions and dragon dances, martial art demonstrations, and colorful costumes that create a very unique atmosphere. There are also a lot of shops and tourist attractions that bring in a lot of people from other cultures to come and learn about Asian culture and the history of the Chinese immigrants that worked very hard to build their community many years ago. San Francisco's Chinatown and the Chinese immigrants' connection to the Transcontinental Railroad show us how amazing people can be even when they face difficult times and unfair treatment. They teach us that everyone has something valuable to offer, no matter where they come from. We should work together to create a fair and equal society that celebrates and respects the differences and contributions of every person. Okay, that's all for the essay. Now let's look at some of the vocab words and try our best to remember these new vocab words. Here they are, and we are going to start with number 1, the word monumental. Monumental means great importance, extent, or size. So in talking about the Transcontinental Railroad, it was a monumental feat. Feat means like challenge. It was a great challenge, a big sized challenge that America did and accomplished. Number 2 is the word prosperity. My mouse is having trouble. Okay. Prosperity is the condition of being successful or thriving, and it's especially connected to economic well-being. So we are talking about how the railroad was connecting the East and West and created new paths of prosperity for many people. Next is the word pioneering. Pioneering means involving new ideas or methods. And this is also talking about the railroad it's talking about the spirit that made America a global leader, pioneering spirit. So speaking of like creating the railroad, innovating, creating new ideas, it's involving new ideas or methods. All right, and number 4 is the word distinct. Distinct means different from something else. So you can recognize that as different. In the essay, we mentioned distinct as the community that that Chinese immigrants created in Chinatown. They created a distinct community. a community that's different from something else, like it's different from the other communities that existed in America. The final word is elaborate. Elaborate in talking about the Chinese costumes or the parades or festivals. It says involving many carefully arranged parts or detailed, a complicated design, complicated planning. So in talking about the Chinese New Year parade, there were many elaborate floats in the parade, like dragon heads with many with a long dragon tail, and it's very intricately designed and beautiful. All right, those are our vocab words for today. And now I have 4 discussion questions. You can answer any of these. If one of them is really interesting, you can talk more about it than usual. So let's look at question number 1. Have you ever been to a Chinatown? Please tell me about your experience. Question 2. If America had a Japantown with a big Japanese community, what would be important to include in that town? In our essay, we looked at many unique and important things in the Chinatown in San Francisco, but if San Francisco created a Japantown with a big Japanese community, what do you think we should include in that town? Number 3, what are some of the great accomplishments that Japan accomplished in their history? So we looked at the Transcontinental Railroad in our essay today about one of America's big accomplishments. What is something similar or another accomplishment that Japan created in their history? And question number 4, if Japan would make some other country's towns in its big cities, what country's town would you like to see? So let's say, for example, Japan had some extra space and they wanted to make a community that would showcase another country, and they picked like Denmark, and they had Denmark Town and all the interesting cultural Denmark landmarks in that town. What town would you like to see be created in Japan? So please tell me about your idea. All right, you guys, that's all for my video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that we can have a really interesting conversation about these discussion questions, and also talking about San Francisco Chinatown. I've been there many times myself, living close by. I had a really nice experience visiting Chinatown, and I'd love to tell you more about that in our next class. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's essay, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.